Okay, so I have a question for you. What does antifreeze and cake mix have in common? I'll give you a couple seconds to think about this one. All right. It's propylene glycol. Propylene glycol is a chemical that's found in antifreeze in cars, and it's used to de-ice airplanes. It's also found in cake mix. And the CDC classifies propylene glycol as a toxic substance. So why is it in our food? Hi guys, it's Wendy from cinnamonsweetshop.com, and I want you to think outside of the box, outside of this box, and just say no to boxed cake mix. Boxed cake mix is full of junk ingredients. They have hard to pronounce ingredients made in a lab and linked to diseases, and some of them are even banned in countries outside the United States. So do you really want it in your cake? Baking your own cake from scratch gives you control what goes in it. I always use the best quality ingredients I can find and I can afford, whether I'm baking a cookie, a brownie, or just making dinner in general. Now, for those of you who are going to say, yes, but, it saves me a lot of time just to pull out the box and make the cake mix. I keep it in my pantry. It's good for a special occasion, a last minute occasion. Well, the fact is, you still have to add the eggs, the water, the oil. You still have to mix it. You still have to bake the cake in a pan. So really, how much time are you saving? You're not really saving that much more time. It's only maybe an extra 10-15 minutes to measure out the dry ingredients that goes into the cake. So again, is it really worth it? Now, you're also going to say, well, it's cheaper. This box of Duncan Hines, it's actually an empty box. This box of Duncan Hines, though, would normally be about $1.50. You could buy box cake mix for under $2. But even if you were to go out, buy all organic ingredients, when you figure out the cost, it's only maybe about $1 or $2 more to make this from scratch yourself. And there's far less ingredients in scratch cake than what this has. Some of you will say, well, it really tastes good. Well, taste is a personal preference. I could taste the difference from boxed cake mix as I can from scratch. The scratch just has more of a, if it's a chocolate flavor, the scratch has more of a chocolatey flavor. Because you control the ingredients when you bake the cake, you can adjust the amount of ingredients that goes into it. Make it less sweet if it's too sweet for you. Add more sweetener, add more vanilla extract, add chocolate chips if you want, if you like that. But if you think boxed cake mix tastes good, then try baking a cake from scratch. And if you don't like the cake from scratch, it's because you have a bad recipe. Try a different recipe. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up is that there are so many people who now do home baking from their home. They do specialty cakes. And I'm going to say many of them are very, very good. But some in the home baking industry are using boxed cake mixes. I know this from one of the cake forums that I'm on that many of them post on. They almost brag that they're using it. For them, when you're baking a lot of cakes that have to be done, that extra 10-15 minutes in savings does add up for them, and those few extra pennies or dollars also adds up for them. So that's one of the reasons why they're using it. If you decide to use a home baker for a special occasion cake, maybe you just don't have the knack for cake decorating, you just don't have the time, always ask them if they're making the cake from scratch or using a boxed cake mix. And you know what? You could insist on having them bake it from scratch. Now, sometimes they'll use a boxed cake mix and doctor it up with other ingredients. Again, try and get them to use the scratch cake mix. It may cost more to do it, but it's really worth it. And while it's less common, there are a few well-known bakeries that are also using boxed cake mix. Most do not. Most bakeries will bake from scratch, but there are some that are using it. And before I end this video, I'd also like to point out that if you do go to a health food store or the health food aisle in your grocery store, you will see some healthier, all-natural boxed cake mixes that would also be an option if you just don't want to make it from scratch. However, you'll notice those cake mixes are almost twice the cost of the average box mix you'll find in the grocery store. So The bottom line is to read every ingredient on the products you buy, whether it's for baking, cooking, or for snacks. And you know what? Don't even get me started on the tubs of cake frosting that's next to the box cake mix. That's just as bad, if not worse, when it comes to loaded with chemicals and hydrogenated fats. So until next time, don't forget, go to cinnamonsweetshop.com for recipes, cake decorating, cookie decorating, candy making tutorials, and I will see you next time.